Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. Konnichiwa, Ohayo gozaimasu, whatever's appropriate for your region. Buenos dias. How about that? Uh, Thank you for joining the League of Opportunities. This is the second part, five different speakers, although there may be one that overlaps. Wayne Baxter, who spoke 16 hours ago at the first part of League of Opportunities. We used to do this one once a month, and now we do it on a Thursday afternoon. So it's Friday morning in Asia. And then this one, which is Friday morning and pretty late in Asia. I understand there might be someone dialing in early in the morning on Saturday. God bless you, whoever that might be. It might be Yuka, actually, who's visiting Japan. So if there's any of you in Asia, thank you. And just thank you all for your support. Many or most of you are members. All of our speakers today are members of Global Chamber. We really appreciate all of you. The purpose of this is for you in two different ways. All the speakers have opportunities for you to learn about a lot of new things going on to help you be more successful. So we want members to be more successful, and we want everybody who's speaking to be more successful. And so keep that in mind throughout this conversation. We will finish up at the top of the hour. We're going to be kicking off with Jen Diaz of Diaz Trade Law. She is a superstar in Florida and on the global stage. She helps companies be more successful and make sure that the compliance works, that all the trade goes a lot smoother than it often can. It always has problems. And one of the key things, I wouldn't say always, but I think we all know doing international business that stuff happens, and it's very important to be both flexible and resilient. However, it's even more important to work with people like Jen who can avoid many of the problems. So Jen, thanks for all that you do. What's going on new? What would you like to share today for the tribe assembled today?
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thanks to the tribe for being here. Where's everybody from? I'm curious if you guys can put in the chat box what countries you're in. That would be awesome to get a glimpse of countries at issue and countries that are represented today. It's great to have all of you with us. I'm in Miami, so weather's always beautiful here. No complaints with that. And we're my federal practice is, oh, good, some USA presence too. That's phenomenal. All I deal with are importers and exporters. So whether or not you are dealing with imports coming into the United States or exports from the United States. So I'm curious for all of you, if you can also put in the chat box with your countries as well, if you are currently importing into the United States or exporting from the United States. What we're seeing a lot of is enforcement. What a surprise. US Customs is on an enforcement spree, and part of US Customs, their job is to facilitate legitimate trade, but they also have to enforce bad trade. And we are at the forefront of helping our clients with enforcement issues. So anything from goods being seized by US Customs, companies being investigated or audited by US Customs on a daily basis. But my favorite part is the compliance element. So before you start importing or exporting, are you doing it right? We're seeing huge trends in business with Cuba, which is really interesting. A lot of our clients in the United States are actively trying to get licensed to sell goods to Cuba. So we're seeing a big uptick in that, especially where we're physically located in Miami, being so close to Cuba. We see that quite a bit. We also do a lot of training on topics like importing and exporting. So we've got a few coming up as well. We're going to be talking to Anita and 425 with the Global Chamber and talking about import export and all sorts of statistics and what's going on the import export front. So if you want a longer version of it, we're happy to talk as well. We also do a top 10 tips when importing, and I'll share that in the chat box with anyone who wants specific tips on importing into the US or exporting from the United States. What we're seeing quite a bit of are, unfortunately, imports into the United States from China, for example. A Chinese supplier will say, hey, don't worry, it's okay to have a second set of invoices. No biggie. I'll give you one invoice for US Customs and one invoice for you to pay me. Cool? and it'll save you a lot of money. Don't worry, everybody's doing it. Well, a number one trick that's not a good trick, because we're seeing a lot of companies go to jail for this these days, and there's criminal investigations with the Department of Justice. So nobody wants to see that. There's a lot of anti-dumping and countervailing duty enforcement, a lot of we have 47 federal government agencies in the US, Doug. So it's a whole lot to keep up with when it comes to the import and export side. You can be dealing with 5 different agencies for one product. Like when we're dealing with exports to Cuba, we're dealing with 5 different regulatory agencies in different capacities to make sure that our exports are appropriately licensed and we're not going to have an issue. So nobody wants to wake up one day and see their goods seized or their bank account seized. Those are not fun moments for anyone. So like, we help clients whether it's at the beginning stages in terms of their importations or exportations, to ensure that they're doing the right thing, going through the right processes with US Customs and or any of the other federal agencies, or hopefully not, but normally people want to call their lawyer when they're in trouble. So if you guys can teach me how we change that perception that calling a lawyer is a bad thing when you're not in trouble, that would be great, because the perception is always, I need my lawyer and they're on speed dial when I'm in trouble and I want them to get me out of trouble. But before I start importing or exporting, and when it's time to actually get compliance advice, who really needs the lawyer at that stage? That's the perfect time. It's kind of like before you get married, you talk to the lawyer about breaking up just in case you might need the prenup. It's the same aspect that we try to get people to have that mindset before they start importing or exporting, to get their compliance in gear. So it's a lot smoother down the line dealing with the federal government agencies. And Doug, there's a crazy program at Customs that's years old now, but it's a tattletale program where if you're not nice to your employees and or your competitors think you're trying to lie, cheat, or steal in some way, shape, or form, Customs has a program where you can be told on, and you're not in the know, and Customs is investigating you, and then it becomes public. And Customs doesn't even have to give you all of the allegation used against you, and you're meant to defend it without all of the information. Nobody wants to be a part of this, but we're seeing a lot of companies that are investigated by US Customs for underlying anti-dumping and countervailing duty issues, which is a funky topic in the United States. And I'm not sure how much everyone here knows about anti-dumping or countervailing duty issues, but duties can be as high as 1,700%. I want you to imagine not anticipating 1,700% duties. That'll break anybody. So everybody's heard of China tariffs, I'm sure, in some way, shape, or form. Our war with China on intellectual property rights and our China tariffs, we've been talking about that since 2018. And that's 25%. Now imagine 1,700% and or hundreds of percentage points, which is the majority of anti-dumping or countervailing duty cases, and then having to deal with investigations that are public. None of that is fun for anyone. So it's cool to see that all of you are truly global and from all over. I'm not sure if there are specific commodities. We're also seeing quite a bit with forced labor. I'll talk to Anita a bit about that in a week or so. When we talk more forced labor enforcement, I'm seeing every country, and some of your countries may have their own forced labor prohibitions. And in the United States, ours are ramped up and definitely being enforced as well. So we're seeing more and more importations stopped because there's an allegation that those goods were made with the use of forced labor. So many different topics we're seeing from a customs standpoint and from all these other government agency standpoints that I think are interesting personally, but curious if there's any specific questions or roadways that you guys are in, or commodities or industries that you guys are specifically in, and happy. I don't know how much time we have, Doug, so I'll be mindful of that to answer any questions anyone has.
Yeah, we've only got maybe 1 or 2 minutes, so we will need to maybe just go, if you don't mind, put Bill Edwards on the spot, because Bill
Sounds
has
good.
50 years of trade experience. I presume you two know each other, and if not, you should. He's also, in addition to his own company, EGS, he's the head of the District Export Council in Orange County. He's as expert as anyone you'll ever meet in trade. Bill, what did you hear from Jen there that resonated with you, or things that we should keep in mind to emphasize?
Okay, well, first of all, Doug, I'm the head of the District Export Council in California, not just Orange County. But
Wow. Oh my God. Because there's how many of them there?
That's all pro bono, of course. But anyway,
How many decks for California?
4.
Wow.
So Jen's comments about the sourcing of product from the wrong place is a huge topic these days. And here at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, Customs is stopping lots of shipments that they think have the wrong parts in them, including one about a month ago that included Audis, Porsches, Bentleys, and a couple of other very high-end car brands that had one part in it in each of them that came from the wrong place in China, right, Jen? And they're still held up. I think there's like $30 or $40 million in that one shipment that's until they can fabricate a part and replace it in all those cars, it's not coming into the country.
Wow.
So these people are serious. They're really serious about this. And it will cost you a lot of money and a lot of time if you don't watch that. So pay attention to what Jen tells you, because this is serious stuff. Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bill. Jen, any final comments?
Couldn't agree more. I'm a big deck lover. I'm part of our South Florida district as well. And
Great.
if anybody exports from the United States and you don't know of deck resources, there's so many entities in the United States that are happy to help you, especially with exports. So would happily recommend that you look into deck. Lots of great trainings with BIS and other government agencies to provide assistance on the exporting side, because at the end of the day, people like Bill and I, we want to see you get help before you start exporting and or importing into the United States, and not crying for help thereafter. Because as Bill was talking about, that the case itself with a whole lot of goods being seized, that's a panic 911 call at the end. That's when everyone has to turn on capes. But I want you to think about U.S. Customs standard. Customs says you have to provide with clear and convincing evidence, proof that your raw materials were not made from specific region in China, for example, or made with the use of forced labor. That's actually really difficult if you haven't mapped your entire supply chain. Some companies are utilizing technology to do so, and some are hand mapping. Now, how many of you truly know your entire supply chain? How many of you know, think about it from an apparel perspective, cotton is a big source of angst. So for a shirt, how many of you can think of and or know, if you're buying a shirt from your supplier, does your supplier source the raw cotton bale by themselves? And if they don't, who do they get it from? And are they going to tell you? Because if you don't know that, technically you shouldn't be importing it into the United States. So that level of detail is quite crazy these days. And whether you're big or small, Customs doesn't say there's an exception because you're really small and your supplier isn't going to tell you. There's no such thing as an exception for being a small business. Customs is saying even de minimis, even small shipments, like even our Amazon shipments, should qualify and should be met with this. So I ask of you, how many of you, when you purchased a shirt, know where your cotton is from, and how many of you will think of that differently next time you purchase a shirt? It's crazy things that you have to think of in the United States, unfortunately, to do business without angst. And there's just so much you need to do to watch your back, depending upon what your commodity is. So just highly encourage you to have somebody specialized in your corner that's thinking of you.
Right. Now, what you need to know is there's something called the Bureau of Industry and Security, BIS. Remember those letters. They have an immense amount of rules that you have to follow if you're a U.S. exporter. And the decks, I think in South Florida and also here, we put on at least once a year a 2-day training program with the government that comes out and tells you what all is involved. If you have somebody that's involved in shipping in your company, they need to go through that training. There are no excuses. If you get caught doing the wrong thing, it will be expensive.
Thank you both. Great information for all of you. Please make sure that you're connected to both Jen and Bill. Bill, sorry I messed up on your deck role and responsibility.
But we're not trying to scare you folks. We're just trying to keep you from
from getting in trouble for sure. Thank you very much. Let's keep moving around the room. For both of you and for all of you, speakers and attendees, feel free to put your information in the chat area. Watch for a LinkedIn post that connects the speakers and some of you here in the room in the next 24 hours. And if you are a member of Global Chamber and there's someone here that you'd like to connect with, let us know and we'll make the connection. Typically, during the conversation, there are introductions being made. Cesar is in the background. Elisa from Global Chamber is also there. She's documenting this conversation, and we'll, in the next few days, also be reviewing for all the speakers what connections we need to be making that we haven't made already. So we're very focused in, not perfect, but we're definitely sincere and intending to make sure our members are all taken care of. One of those members who I understand may have a Porsche waiting for him at the Port of LA, I'm not sure, is Nikos from IA Global Ventures, and he has a completely different opportunity that he has. One of the really fascinating things that he's working on, by the way, he does have strong California ties. One of the opportunities he's going to be talking about is an incubator, a group of companies that are being helped that all have international connections, but they're based in Austin or based in the US. The venture fund is out of Austin. So Nikos, thank you for your leadership. Thanks for pulling those companies together. It's a great opportunity. Could you share a little bit more, please? Uh-oh. Are you there, Nikos?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh,
Hello?
now we can. Thanks.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Doug. No, I don't have a Porsche waiting in the port, but I did spend quite a bit of time in LA, 12 years before moving down to Austin, where I've been for the last 8 years. And we have a very unique program here, something we call the International Accelerator. And it is a 1-year program where we find companies from startups from 30 plus countries around the world. And we bring them to the United States. We help them incorporate here and serve as a launch pad for their businesses in the United States, taking care of everything from giving them a place to stay for a year, taking care of their visa, office space, shared vehicle, food, everything they need, healthcare. When folks move to the United States, especially when they're not coming here for a specific job, but they're entrepreneurs, it's very difficult to lease a place because they don't have credit history. They don't have healthcare. So we take care of all of that. Plus, we help them with their business. So we handle all the back office, legal, finance, bookkeeping, and give them a tremendous network of contacts that they can reach out to in the United States to accelerate their businesses. That's been a very successful program now. We've had 40 companies go through the program. 2 of the first 16 companies are now unicorns. One of them it's a Ukrainian company. The entrepreneur brought his whole family here, and they're all living in Austin now. And I believe he's already received his green card, is on the path of that. So he's truly living the American dream. And the other company is a Greek company. We see a lot of companies from India, South America, Eastern Europe, a couple from South Korea. So all over the world, really. The 2 things that we're missing in this puzzle and we're looking to help companies attain. One is we have too many applications. So we have over 6,000 applications each year for the program. And these are pretty extensive applications, including video. So people are putting together these applications and putting in the time because everyone wants to come to the United States and launch their companies here. And we can only support 12 spots. What we're trying to do is leverage a global network to get higher curated applications versus companies just coming to our website and signing up. And we're getting some success with that, having country managers who are plugged into the local ecosystems and meet with the companies and make recommendations. And we put together a program where if one of those companies gets into the accelerator, the recommender who send that company to us will get up to 1% equity in that company from the accelerator's stake. So that's one area that we're always looking for partners. Again, we're looking for technology companies, primarily in the software sector. and those can emerge anywhere. The other part that these companies need, and where we are offering a new benefit, is once they get here and once they launch, they're all looking for funding. And in the past, that funding came from individual investors, and we were helping them set up meetings to raise, $500,000 or $1 million to get them off the ground. And we are now raising a side fund. So it's a proper VC fund that is connected to the International Accelerator, but also run separately as a fund. Our past companies have gone out to raise over 160 million externally. And we knew which ones were going to be successful after spending so much time with them, but we didn't have the capital to invest. So this side fund will take care of that. It's a $50 million fund. We started this earlier this year. We've had subscriptions of about 10 million now, or actually over 10 million. And we're looking for limited partners and investors in the fund as well. So to the extent that anyone in your network might be interested in learning more, that's something we would definitely appreciate interest for. So I'll stop there. I have 35 seconds left on my timer here. I'm trying to keep within the allocated time. But I have a hand raised there by Pankaj. But I think you're muted.
Hey,
There we go.
Nikos, this is Pankaj. I'm a US citizen based in Charlotte, North Carolina. We are a proud member of Global Chamber, working more than 2 years. We are a VC fund manager. We are helping around the world. So Cesar, please connect with Nikos. So rest we will offline. So we wanted to help you for funding. We have $1 trillion investor around the world. So definitely, if you are in West Coast, we are going there. For LA, San Francisco, then we can have a cup of coffee.
Absolutely.
Pankaj, you're in Charlotte, and Nikos is in Austin, but he does go to California. If you guys come to California, I'll be happy to have coffee or a beer with us.
Doug, thank you. I am going to Austin because 4 states, probably you know that. Upstate New York, Austin, Arizona is the biggest one, and Indiana, the Purdue University. The 4 is the chip hub of US. So I'm visiting all the 4, and I'll see you on Arizona too also. So Austin, very soon we are coming to Austin. Okay.
Okay. Maybe you guys get together for sure. Are there any questions for Nikos? Any thoughts?
Which countries are they coming from generally, these entrepreneurs?
So out of the 6,500 applications we had last year, 7 years ago, Prime Minister Modi from India sent a group to the US, looked at a number of incubators, accelerators, and selected the International Accelerator as a strategic partner. And as a result, we're heavily promoted in India. So 2,000 of the 6,500 are coming from India. That's the biggest source of our companies. We have a lot coming from Greece due to my network and my co-founders' network in Greece. A lot from Eastern Europe and the former Soviet bloc, and quite a few from Latin America. Not as many, but we've seen a few recently from Singapore, South Korea, and Japan. And probably, I would say we have a few from Canada, a few from Western Europe, but most of them are from the countries I mentioned. We also like those companies because they maintain the engineering teams abroad, and those are at a significant cost basis to having an engineering team here. And they're also much more loyal when it comes to sticking with the companies. The unfortunate part in the US, especially in areas like Austin or Silicon Valley, you hire engineers as a startup, and 6 months later they leave to go to another company that's offering them more money. And you don't have that with these teams of our companies.
That's what caused me to ask. I think we could help in that area. So if you don't mind, I'll shoot you my meeting link, and let's see if we can connect there, see if I can be helpful.
Yeah, sounds great.
Landon Pitcher is with Listo Global, and they help companies bring on, hire, and manage and pay their employees wherever they are in the world. So thank you, Landon, for your leadership. We're going to continue to move on. So thank you so much for sharing, Nikos. Fascinating opportunity. And I think one of the things that really resonated with me when we first chatted was the fact that these companies, because of their background, because of where they're coming from because of their multi-country perspective, they tend to be, and statistically are, more successful than companies that are singular country focused from the beginning. And so I think that really resonates with our global tribe, and I think we can understand why, both kind of theoretically but also practically, that people like you're working with are going to be more successful. So thank you for giving them the platform to be able to reach the next level, and the platform for investors to benefit from their success.
Yeah, great.
Let's now go to another part of the world with Karina Gertz. She is with StarCat, and I don't know, Karina, if you're in Dubai, but I've heard they've had a little bit of rain. I know you do a lot of work there. You help companies be successful in the Middle East. Would you be able to share some of the new things that are going on that we can benefit from, please?
Yeah, sure. No, I'm not in Dubai, and not yet. I'm going the week after next. So hopefully by then the kind of storm and the rain will have kind of, gone away. So I don't know if anybody has seen it, but they had I think they had the worst rain for like 75 years. And I think Dubai was sort of featured as being very bad, but Oman was actually even worse because they had a lot of flooding, and there were a lot of people that also died. I think there was like 20 people in Oman that died. So it was kind of like across the whole region. And I think the jury is out because they've been saying, has it been natural? Has it been cloud seeding? There's been a lot of articles on that. So yeah, we don't really know, but this is certainly been very interesting because it's also been one of the first times that like Dubai canceled all the flights and people couldn't actually get out from there, or they couldn't get anywhere. So, but yeah, back to what we do. So obviously we help businesses that want to, get an idea of what's possible. And just one of the things that is actually possible, which is really interesting in Saudi, where there's a lot of hype about Saudi, they have all these big projects that you may or may not heard of. And these big projects are worth approximately 884 billion. And only 60 billion so far have been allocated in contracts. So that's literally less than 10%. So there is a lot of opportunity there for like cross industry. But not only that, I think Saudi is also forging ahead on tourism. And they had a goal for Vision 2030, which is sort of their overarching vision to, open up the country and diversify away from oil. So they had a goal for that Vision 2030 that in 2030, the country would have 100 million tourists per year. And they actually reached that goal at the end of last year. So they already had 100 million tourists, which, seems a lot, but probably not so much because there's still a lot of people that wouldn't really think about necessarily going to Saudi. So what I do is, I help with we help with cultural understanding, we help with business etiquette, all of these kind of things that you have to know before you go. And I do a newsletter with lots of sort of news and things, what's going on in the region. So if you want to know a little bit more, I think that's sort of a good place to start.
Fantastic. Typically, who are the kinds of companies that you work with? Where are they based? And are they based in the region and they're working within the region, or are they based? You're normally in London, I believe. So are they coming?
Correct.
Who were your best clients?
So it's a real mix. So I've worked with like an American hotel company because they had a lot of clients from there. I've worked with a law company in London because they had some people going out there doing an event, hosting their clients. So it's kind of all over. I've had clients from Dubai. It's really, you don't have to be based in the region because sometimes you may just be a business that has a lot of clients from that region and you want to get more clients and you want to do business better. and that's where we can come in and help.
Fantastic. Does anybody have any questions? Either raise your hand or unmute yourself, and I think we have time for one question.
Hey, Corina, this is Pankaj. We are based in Charlotte. We are a US citizen. I visited Dubai. That is our global headquarters is coming, as well as Riyadh. So just we wanted to connect offline. I don't want to, and we'll talk. So definitely we need your help to grow business in UAE and Saudi. I visited both the countries.
Okay, perfect. I'll have a look and find you on LinkedIn, and we can have a conversation.
Unfortunately, I didn't have LinkedIn. That is my biggest. So I have LinkedIn. I am always in LinkedIn. Somehow someone complained me and they put me on hold. So other than LinkedIn, I have everything. My whole life is with Global Chamber, Doug and Cesar and
Okay, okay.
So they
Well,
know very well.
I will send you my email address so then we
Yes.
can have a
Thank you so
conversation.
much.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
keep trying to get back into LinkedIn, Pankaj. That's a real critical one. I see there were a couple, Joanne and Michelle and Munir. You're all unmuted. Did you have anything to say?
I just wanted to ask, could her email address be for her newsletter? Could the link be put in the chat?
Oh, sure. I'll put it in now. No
I
problem.
actually I actually just put the link to the newsletter, Corina, just in case you want to confirm, but it's there in the chat.
Oh, perfect. Oh, yeah, it is actually. Thank you so much.
There you go, Michelle. Cesar is one step ahead, as always.
Absolutely. Amazing.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you for sharing today. And, everybody at Global Chamber is somebody to know. And, all four of the speakers so far we've had are superstars in their field. And so definitely connect up. That trend continues with our next speaker, Adrian Bray of Stellar Consulting, based in the Bay Area. They do some really outstanding work, and would love to have him share now some of the opportunities that they're working on. Adrian, how are you? How's the Bay Area? What's the good word? What would you like to share today? What's new?
Well, as you've brought me out, Doug, my alternative name is Andrea, but other than that, and as you can gather, for those that are accent thing, I'm not a native. So the weather is sunny but slightly cooler. It was where I live. It was 80 degrees yesterday. It's going to be about 73, so not too bad. It was 2 weeks ago. It's 32, so it's a little bit mixed. But other than that, just a little bit. I have an international background. As you can gather, I used to ship goods around the world, so it was interesting to hear. I'm still a member of the Institute of Export. It was good to hear kind of how the US stuff's going on. And I'm also I also am part of a organization called the British American Business Council that helps British companies do trade specifically in the US. And when I'm not doing that, as Doug said, I'm involved in Stellar. And simply put, we help companies grow. We're not sales coaches, but what we do is actually revolutionize the way those businesses are run, usually with some kind of transition or exit in mind. So we're very much about helping the entrepreneur understand what drives their valuation, their multiple, what do a buyer value, what they don't value, and help get them on the right track. And it was kind of fascinating to hear the international trade, whereas my mind was going all the things that on the buy side could go in diligence. So kind of with that, the reason for our involvement with the Global Chamber is simply we're looking for strategic partners that we can refer into our clients with specialist needs. And beyond the traditional lawyer, accountant, and so on and so forth. And we don't typically deal with startups. I know there's a number of organizations dealing with startups. We typically deal with established companies, and probably up to I think the largest I've worked with in this context is $1 billion in revenue. My past life was dealing with enterprise customers. So that's it, Doug. Very, very short and sweet.
So an ideal client for you looks like what? What size? What location?
Privately held So typically privately held organizations, we've got teams in obviously the US, Australia, and the UK, but virtually we can deal with most people. And typically they need to be at least 3 million, ideally 10 million in revenue.
Okay, what segments are best and what problem do they have?
So typically their problem is they want to grow in a way that is sustainable, run just top line growth. They actually want to be able to sustain that growth. And often they want to make sure that they are attractive to a future buyer.
Okay, and so you help them design what, sales systems or operating systems to be able to do?
It's all of the above it, but it's typically, okay, if this is where we're going, if this is the type of buyer that we're looking for, which could be an internal buyer, then okay, what's going to sustain the value of that?
Got it. So I don't know if Zach Selch, if you are available to chat, but Zach is one of those sales leaders that everybody should know. He has a Rolodex of 10,000 distributors around the world. He is the person in medical products, but he also works in a variety of other products. Zach, did you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I was actually just putting up a chat to Adrian. I'd love to talk. That's basically the type of thing that I do is I work. So for everybody who doesn't know me, I help people build up their international sales organization, their systems, their playbooks, their SOPs, that kind of thing. And typically that looks like coaching VPs and directors of sales. Most of my clients are pretty experienced. As an example, one of my clients is the head of a state DEC with more than 20 years experience. So I don't typically work with people who are not experienced. Usually people with a great deal of experience reach out to me just to get a little bit better. So that's what I do. And I'd love to chat with anybody who might have needs like that or might be working with clients who have needs like that. My focus is on growing sales, and I don't typically screw around with 10, 20, 30% growth. I'm usually in the 400% growth and above. One of my clients hit 4,000% growth in a 3-year period. So that's what I do.
So Adrian, I was just
Doug.
thank you, and thank you for engaging me on Facebook on a topic near and dear to everybody now, and peace in the Middle East the last 24 hours. Hey, Adrian, I was thinking that Zach could be a piece of what you're doing. It sounds, how would you relate to what he said, and how does that fit with what you do?
It's ideal because we're typically quarterbacking and then encouraging to bring the specialist in. And there's certain revenue points that Zach probably is well aware of where they need to transform their sales organizations significantly. And the biggest mistake they have is they think they got it because they did it previously, especially for the rapid growth.
Yeah, and especially at those different steps, that can always be painful. We should chat. I'd love to see if we can find a way to work together.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. One quick question. Anybody have a quick question? I see Bill Foch is unmuted. At least
the question. I'm sorry I'm late. Good seeing you, Don. Adrian, do you typically have an equity position in the companies that you help?
No, we deliberately don't.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Thank you, Bill. Bill is the world expert on engaging employees in company success. So if that's of interest to you, please connect up. Actually, go ahead.
Part of the discussion we often have is, certainly if we're driving to a particular enterprise value range, is around why should people bother? Because people have typically 2 skills: those that can drive revenue and profit, and those that actually can drive the value add. And getting them engaged rather than one size fits all is a serious conversation we have. we're not experts in all the different laws, the US laws such as ERISA for deferred compensation and so on and so forth. But what we will work on the emotional side of what it means to them. So it'll be an interesting conversation, Bill, to understand more about the incentives.
Yeah, happy to do so. I'm biased as a function of 30 years of consulting work and about 300 and some odd companies to work with. But in particular, in the last 5 years, we've done research on what actually drives results in ways that have us demonstrably convinced that really well-intentioned folks like Gallup just aren't measuring what really drives growth and profits. And the thing that we've kind of gotten away from is it's not opinion and anecdote, it's here's the data. And we're starting to turn towards equity investments ourselves because we think that's a faster way to realize improvements and align interests and that kind of stuff. So if that, I mean, there's some HBR articles and the research is available. If that's of interest, I'll put my contact information, or you know, who's the folks at Global Chamber are exceptional at a lot of things, but they're really good at connecting folks like us. So maybe we could, Cesar
Absolutely.
in particular is like crazy good. So if he's around, maybe he could just like make that happen.
He is, and actually, Cesar, I remembered I wanted to connect Bill with Nikos, and I'm not sure I did that. So that was maybe, if you just joined, Bill, then you missed Nikos's presentation, but he's somebody.
Sorry. Yeah.
As well. Thank you for your time. I wanted to just quickly go to Dishan in South Africa. Dishan Maharaj, are you there, Dishan? I know with South Africa, sometimes it can be give or take, given the power outages and things like that. But from a small business, small to medium-sized business work that you do in sales acceleration, some of the things that Adrian talked about, did anything he talk about resonate with you? And do you just have a moment to say hi?
Hi, Doug. It's great to be here. Great to meet all the fellow colleagues and friends. I hope in future. I caught bits and pieces, to your point around the power outages. It just doesn't stop, right? So 8 to 12 hours a day, and it affects everything, including the internet connectivity. So I caught bits and pieces, but I did have a chat with Eliza directly to make some introductions, and I think he's definitely one of them that I'd like to connect with. I think in the landscape that we in being in the digital space, especially around SME development. We are always keen to chat with individuals that are either VCs, investors, basically anybody with a mandate for SME development that we can reach out with and form a strategic partnership with, because we have digital solutions and I think they're scalable, right? So why not collaborate and use technology to break down barriers, accessing various markets.
Fantastic. Thanks for your leadership. And I've seen Dishan work. There are particular programs that he's done, including in the Philippines, that have been really quite unique and special to help companies operationalize success. And so, Adrian, I think there's a lot of overlap there with you as well. But and thank you for sharing and presenting. For all the speakers so far, continue to share if you can in the chat. We'll continue to make connections, and if any of you who are participating today have any needs, just send them in. To Bill's point, we're not perfect. However, we do try harder, and having Cesar in the room always does help. Now let's now go to Art Verdugo, our last speaker. Although Wayne, we're gonna slip in as well, and then hopefully at the end we'll have kind of a light round where if any of you have some quick announcements you'd like to make, we'll be able to facilitate that as well. Art is with NAI Horizon. Art is a co-worker with Jeffrey Garza Walker, who happens to be the Global Chamber Phoenix Advisory Board lead, who has taken that chapter to a next level by going through a strategic process. And we're now rolling out a lot of the activity of that. And I'm just really excited by working with JGW, Jeffrey Garza Walker, and Art. And one of the reasons is their expertise around commercial real estate is renowned, and they're just really outstanding at bringing companies into the US. And so if that's of interest to you and you work with companies that are coming in to the US or going out and getting access to commercial real estate in other countries, Art is your man. Art, would you please share a little bit more about what opportunities are new and exciting for our members?
Yeah, thanks for that introduction, Doug. I don't think I could do any better than you already did. Yeah, so we, Jeffrey and myself, we make part of what we call our global advisory team. So any kind of real estate needs that may be from locally or international, we deal with clients from Spain, primarily Latin America also, but we are available to help as a purposeful partner with anybody coming into the US or even going out to other parts of the world. We have a large network through what we call NAI Global. That's our parent company, where we could access multiple resources throughout the world for your real estate needs. And what we have, and a couple of opportunities that I would like to speak about in the spirit of international business and real estate, we have a couple of listings that we represent here in the Arizona region up against the border with Mexico. So one of them being a logistics center that is being built right now in Nogales, Arizona. So that's right on the, again, border with Mexico. It has a very near access to what's called the Mariposa port of entry. There's opportunities there if you have any yourselves or any clients that need a facility to store logistics, warehousing, any of that type of industry, anywhere ranging from 25,000 square feet spaces up to 75,000. We also have another opportunity in San Luis, Arizona. So that's that actually is shovel-ready land, and it is also in straight access to the U.S.-Mexico port of entry, commercial port of entry. It has already been quite a bit of investment made by the ownership for roadways, lighting, anything that needs to be in place prior to construction. That approximately is about 65 acres availability now. We have already 15 acres under contract for a cold storage facility for a large company coming from Mexico that needs U.S. presence for their produce import company. So that's kind of an example of the type of companies we work with. But we have a wide range of experience in that field. So I'm open to any questions you may have.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Any questions for Art, please? I was driving to my favorite bagel shop in LA, outside of LA in West LA, and I saw NAI Horizon, or NAI Capital, I think is what it's named. So that's a related company, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's one of our sister companies. Again, we have NAI Mexico. We have we have the largest presence in Mexico by any of the large real estate, commercial real estate firms, but we're worldwide.
Fantastic. Your expertise in real estate is legendary here in the United States. MJ is somebody probably you should know. His company, I don't know if you guys are connected with KMC. He's out of Reno, but he's working with a #1 real estate company in the Philippines, and they also work with labor and getting talent to companies in the U.S. MJ, thanks for all that you do, and really appreciate the collaboration. And we're planning something for Reno that will be announced soon once we work out some of the details. So thanks, MJ, for all that you do. Actually, we have events in LA and San Francisco coming up as well. So just working on the details. And hearing no questions, I think we'll then continue to move on. Thank you very much, Art. How's JGW doing? Is he back from Mexico?
Yeah, he's back. He's actually in Tucson now at another business trip out there, doing some site some site selection work.
Okay, very good.
Never doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. The opportunities keep rolling in. Let's now we'll do an abbreviated, a short version of our next presentation, and then we'll have about 5 minutes, I believe, to be able to do kind of a lightning round for any of you that either have announcements or just quick introductions, like 30 seconds each. But in the meantime, let's go to Wayne. Wayne Baxter. Or Wayne, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. Okay, sorry. I saw you disappear, but you were unmuted. So that's good. So Wayne has been a member, and our interactions with Wayne have largely been between the US and Canada. So when he was renewing his membership, actually this week, he shared with me a very exciting opportunity. I actually was driving at the time, Wayne, and I almost had 2 car accidents while I was because I was so excited, and the traffic in West LA was really difficult.
Well, I'll do it.
But the opportunity to be able to have high net worth individuals from other countries to have access to some of the financial tools that he has access to as an American would is a very unique and special opportunity. And I thought that was very quickly, he was able to turn this around in a day or two to be able to now share it with all of you. Wayne, could you do maybe just a few minutes and at least give people a teaser on what this is?
Yeah. I think in Canada we call it the Coles Notes version. In the US they call it the Cliff Notes version. So yeah, thanks again. I'm really impressed with today's meeting. By the way, the breadth and depth of the speakers, and anyway, I'm pretty much speechless on that. That was excellent. So Doug, my hat's off to you. So yeah, if you could imagine, so I guess really quickly, One Capital Management is a fee-only fiduciary portfolio manager. We offer investment wealth management services on a discretionary basis, and our typical client is a cross-border client who's living in either Canada or the US, and they have investment liquid assets, stocks, bonds, ETFs, maybe domiciled in both countries and in both currencies. And we're one of the very few firms in North America that has the expertise to be able to manage money, licensed to manage money for clients in both countries. So as Doug mentioned, a new area that we are now able to work with are for the ultra high net worth client who maybe is a non-resident of the US. They're living outside the United States, but they'd like to have access to the US capital markets. They'd like to have an investment portfolio in the United States. Now, typically that's not possible. You usually have to be a US resident in order to open up a brokerage account in the US. Well, the good news is we are now able to open up brokerage accounts legally for non-residents. There's a structure that needs to be put in place, but we can make it available. And I will provide those clients with not only access to well-diversified, sophisticatedly managed investment portfolios, but it'll also get them access to other services, including banking, the ability to borrow against their portfolio because they want to get into other investment opportunities, maybe in real estate or in some other commercial venture. It will also give them access to the potential to apply for US-based life insurance. So this is in the design and ultimately for all what we would call ultra high net worth investors. Typically, minimum would be $5 million US. That's it. Thanks, Doug.
Fantastic. Thank you. What questions do people have? I think any of you who are working with entrepreneurs and potentially then high net worth individuals coming from other countries, I think this is amazing, and it's a breakthrough. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got a quick question for Wayne. What nationalities do your clients tend to be, Wayne?
Well, the bulk of my clients currently are US and Canadian, but the program I've just outlined for you, providing they are not on the restricted list of, you can imagine the countries we're referring to, we can open up accounts for them. So they could be from Latin America, from Europe, from Asia. As long as they're not on the restricted list, we are able to open them, provided they follow the program that we put in place for them. And we have to be mindful they can't be politically exposed people. but there's no real significant bias.
So,
Doug,
so
can I interrupt for 2 seconds?
yes, please go
Do we
ahead.
have a minute? So Wayne, curious, just because Cuba comes up so much these days for us, and the number one issue with Cuba is obviously banking and transactions in that regard. I know that we had one banking institution that was licensed by OFAC that was in Cuba and no longer. Curious, authorized transactions technically, but on the bad guy list, technically, we're a sanctioned country itself. Ever see hope in that in another banking institution applying for an OFAC license at any point in time and or taking the risk if they, especially if they're authorized transactions?
I have not heard anything about Cuba
Yeah,
that would be favorable
the
at this
hot
point.
topic. I know. If you ever hear of answers, you call me, okay?
Done.
Thank you very much. I need to step
Thanks, Doug.
away. I'm going to turn over the rest of the program to Cesar. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to disappear for a moment and have a great rest of your day. I really appreciate all of you. Watch for
Thank
the
you, Doug.
and reach out anytime, members, to get any assistance that we can help. Thanks, and
Sure.
Cesar for taking the last few minutes.
Thank you, Doug, and thanks everyone. My ask for today is just, if you haven't, please just take the survey. I just put the link in the chat. It's a survey that we were partnered with Faction Global, a member in Washington, D.C. It's just a 3-4 minute survey, so it would be great to have, because they're doing this twice per year to get the sentiments of business leaders from around the world. So that applies to all of us. So thank you in advance. And I put a couple of links there, but Jen Diaz, thanks for your presentation. And so you're gonna have a whole hour with Anita Rodal next week. So make sure you sign up for that and learn more about the topics she was covering. Other than that, we are working on something around the Olympics. So if any of you is somehow related to the Olympics, knows someone that's going to Paris or knows an athlete that's participating, reach out to us, because we're working on a podcast series around the Olympics, and we have someone in the team that's leading that. So just let us know. Other than that, I will keep the room open for a couple more minutes in case any of you wants to jump in and introduce or say or mention about any opportunity that you might have. So feel free to do so. Thanks again, everyone.
Cesar, yeah, no, I'd love to jump in if that's okay. So I don't know, Nikos, if you're still here, but I was listening with interest to what you were saying, as everyone else was, in terms of people coming to the States and helping people to entrepreneurs to pitch to investors. My company works with a lot of Indian origin business people and helps them with their presentation skills, helping them to become more dynamic speakers. So if you have any people who want a bit of help with those skills, then we could help.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, it's always it's difficult to train them remotely, so we try to do some of that before they arrive here. But once they get here, we could definitely use help in that sector. And you see a broad range of capabilities in terms of their communication skills.
Thanks. Well, I'll connect up and drop me a line.
I can put you in touch. Thank you, Benjamin. It's good to see you.
Hey, Cesar, also I wanted to mention about the Texas event that's coming up. I think it's starting around now, isn't it? Or
that's right. No, it's actually starting in an hour.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot about it. It was in my list. So today's event is Texas meetup. So anyone interested, especially Nikos, I don't know if you've been able to connect yet with the team there, but the monthly meetup is happening in an hour. It's at noon Texas time. So I can, well, when we wrap up, I can put the link here in the chat as well. And so anyone else, I see a couple people I haven't heard from in a while. Michelle, I don't know if you want to jump in and say introduce yourself.
Hi, Michelle Hawkins with Amazon TC. We are in Phoenix, Arizona, and we help companies to standardize their procedures using artificial intelligence.
Excellent. So, Michelle, have you been in touch with Jacob and Yuka? They're running our AI series. So I will definitely put you in touch with them. We have a monthly.
Do.
Yep. I will do that.
Also, Cesar, if you can introduce me with Michelle also, please.
Sorry, who was it? Elliot. Yes.
Elliot. Yeah.
Elliot, introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Elliot Pineda. I'm from Hermosillo, and we have a software development company specialized in business intelligence and Microsoft Cloud solutions. So that is why we are very interested. We have the company, that team in Hermosillo, and we do great management and spend a lot of time in Phoenix, Arizona.
Thank you, Elliot. And so I'm gonna connect you to with Michelle. I'll take care of that.
Thank you.
So I think that's we're now past the top of the hour, and I think, Doug, I don't know if you're still around. Otherwise, I would just officially close the meeting. And it's been a busy one. It's been a great one. So thank you, everyone, and watch out for a lot more things coming up.